Sales teams are like the Kardashian family tree. They get bigger and more complicated every day. So what do all the titles in a sales organization really mean? And how do they come together to form a team? Let me explain. At its core, a sales team is responsible for bringing revenue into a business. In recent years, buyer behavior has changed, and competition has increased. So, sales teams have adapted by becoming more specialized.
Each man on the line became a specialist. He did one thing, and he did it perfectly.
Instead of multiple sellers who can do a little bit of everything, specialists are absolute experts at one or two things. You wouldn't expect a pilot to be a good flight attendant. A great prospector may not be a great negotiator. Sales teams can be broken down into three groups: customer-facing, support, and management. Ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, let me please begin with the customer-facing roles. The account executive. This is the most common role in a business-to-business, or B2B, sales team.
So there are all different names out there.
Trusted advisor,
Business development manager,
account executive,
VP of sales,
salesperson.
territory manager, which is what I am.
But at the end of the day, it's the same position. The role as an account executive is to be a trusted advisor. I try to understand the problem, assess it, and then find the solution. I want to be an extension of my customer's team. I want them to trust me.
Account executives meet with potential clients to do discovery, to demo their product or service, to project manage the deal, and to negotiate terms.
My rule of thumb on a day-to-day basis is what have I done to move a sale forward? What have I done to build or contribute to my pipeline? And the third is what value have I provided to my customers? I've always been someone that's wanted to help the person I'm interacting with. And when you have a product that can do that, that gets me out of bed in the morning and gets me excited. It's really believing in what it is you're doing for your customer and how you're helping them.
Next up are sales development representatives, also known as business development representatives.
In some organizations, SDR and BDR are interchangeable. In some organizations, SDRs handle outbound leads, BDRs handle inbound leads, and really there's no clear-cut answer what the difference is. It just depends on who you ask.
These days, an outbound SDR will probably use a mix of cold calling, emailing, LinkedIn messaging, and video prospecting. On the other hand, inbound folks handle prospects who have reached out to the company themselves. Regardless, both have the same goal: to qualify their prospect and, if they pass the test, to book them a meeting with an account executive.
Every day I make calls to people who have a huge problem that my product can solve. I also send a ton of emails and I do a lot of social selling. Some SDRs make upwards of 150 calls a day. Generally, you have a very short amount of time to prove to them that you are somebody that they want to talk to. I just start off and I say like, hey, I know that you guys have a massive problem. I have a very simple way that we can help solve this problem. Can I have 30 seconds of your time? And most of the time people say yes. So I think being an SDR can be really challenging because you do get hung up on a lot and it takes a lot of effort to just have a single conversation. But when you finally do get the opportunity to have that conversation, it's really exciting. So all of those hang-ups, all of those times no one picked up the phone, it really does make it worth it when you finally do get to talk to people and they're excited about what you have and they're curious to learn more.
Then there's the sales engineer. This is a less common position, often associated with technical stuff, like Salesforce, right, Fabian?
A solutions engineer's role is to really be a product matter expert and then to get an understanding of the business's process and align that back with the functionality that we're able to offer as a solution. So if you ever hear of the role sales engineer or you see solutions engineer, they're technically the same role. Where it does differ is if you see roles like enterprise architect or solutions architect, which typically point to an even further technical role, whereas we focus much more so in the trenches with the sales reps or account executives. Another huge portion of what we do is actually building out the demo or proof of concept that we then present to whoever the decision makers are. We're brought in once there's already been a connection made and established that there may be a real opportunity here. So our job is to then go from that stage of taking them from we're interested in exploring this solution to doing a deeper dive in terms of discovery to really understand and probe for their challenges and where they're trying to go in terms of their goals organizationally, and then putting together the puzzle.
To get into this role, you typically need a technical background and several years of experience in sales or product development.
I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan, and if any of you remember the Triforce of Wisdom, I'm going to call this the triumvirate of success. You know, really 3 pillars. One would be business acumen, next would be technical acumen, and then there's sales acumen as well. So, you know, when we speak towards something like business acumen, that's really having a knowledge of different industries, you know, how different companies may work. Whereas technical acumen may be, you know, the skills such as, you know, do you know HTML? You know, have you ever built a website? You know, have you ever explored integrations or different software? Do you know how to do any coding? And then sales acumen would be, you know, being able to understand how to run a meeting, having executive presence and presentation skills.
This is definitely not an entry-level job. So those are the customer-facing roles, the flashy exterior of the sales world. But now it's time to talk about the behind-the-scenes heroes, sales support. First up, sales operations.
RevOps is kind of like the umbrella of sales ops, marketing ops. So, you know, they're looking at the full funnel, whereas sales ops, you're looking kind of pre-sales. And then, you know, RevOps is everything from post-sale to pre-sale, and then the lifetime journey of that customer. We work behind the scenes. I like to refer to it as the engine that kind of keeps the revenue team running. So without us, a lot of things start to fall apart. So we look at where are we trending, what are we seeing, what do we need to improve on? So there's the data piece of RevOps, and then a lot of it is tech stack. So, you know, sales is evolving, more tech is being included into sales processes. So a big part of what I'm doing is, you know, making sure that all those different tools talk to one another. Typically you would look at Salesforce, HubSpot, your CRM, that's where all your data is being fed into. So when I'm, you know, evaluating our different tools that we're using, I'm often looking at how does that feed data into Salesforce. You've got to be strategic. You know, you can't just think of yourself. It's thinking about the company, what's the go-to-market strategy, and how can I make sure that processes are in place to support that go-to-market strategy. You've also got to know finance, numbers, all of that stuff, which a lot of people find really boring. I find it fascinating. So, you know, working on the budget, making sure that what we're spending is aligned with what we're making. Where do we cut back? Are we getting that return on investment? Is super important and something that I'm always looking at and reevaluating. Every time a contract comes up for renewal, I always take that as an opportunity to kind of check with the market because there's new tools entering every single day.
Next stop, sales enablement.
Sales enablement is really looking at what skills do our reps have, what skills do they not have that they need, and then how are they using our sales tools to be as productive as possible. People are saying, hey, I was really good at closing business face-to-face, but now I feel ill-prepared to close deals from a distance. I don't know how to close on Zoom. You know, how can you help me get more comfortable in that space? And that's where I'm looking at tools or bringing in sales trainers, just making sure that our reps feel armed for success.
Their support includes training, providing product and positioning updates, and equipping the team with learning resources and intel about the competition. They'll work with leadership and sales ops to understand how they can best help the team and replicate success.
When you're in sales enablement, you want to be thinking about scalability and effectiveness of your team and making sure that they just feel supported to bring your solution to customers all over the world.
Now it's time we escalate to management. The management team and structure will depend on the size and maturity of the sales team, but typically there are several managers who report to a director of sales.
So as a VP of sales, my job is to make sure that we can grow the company. So we need to be able to find enough new customers to hire a sales team and have them close deals. And that's really the basics of it all. You know, if you don't have enough people who want your product, then you're not going to have a good sales team who can close it. So the key thing is balancing, you know, how many salespeople do you need to grow the business and close enough new customers to bring in revenue for the whole business.
On smaller teams, management might take on some of the supporting roles, like sales operations or enablement. Management's job is to set goals and budget for the sales team. They'll also evaluate new tools and software, provide coaching and training, manage relationships with other departments.
And the most important thing is setting expectations. Like, you've probably got a good idea of what your sales team can sell next quarter. So if you say that you can close $10 million next quarter, the CFO is then going to go and spend accordingly based on that. But if you only then sell $5 million, you're going to have a problem. And so you need to be very accurate at this stage. You need to have a good team under you of the directors and sales managers that can say, here's the kind of revenue we can do in the future coming quarters, and then working with the heads of marketing to get their inputs in that program as well. And really, it's just being super proactive and reaching out to your senior leaders, CEO, whatever people you might be working with, to make sure that we're all on the same page of our forecasting, of our costs, and just being very clear with what you can do, because the rest of the company is then making decisions off of what you're sharing.
There it is. We got through it. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the structure and roles in an expanding sales organization. Everyone in the ecosystem of the sales org plays a part in keeping the money flowing in. Aw, just like the Kardashians.